implementation of that unit of work interface for saving an order with order lines. The implementation must be named, let's say, create order with order lines unit of work. Here is our unit of work interface, and here is a potential implementation. Having all that explicit transaction management in here is something we currently don't need. I would be pretty okay with simply having all the changes that are done on the context being transmitted in one transaction, and you get that out of the box. Now I could continue with asking Copilot for that, and we would probably end up with good generated code. But, and that's another tip, it is important to not get lost into prompting too much. It is not our intention to create the perfect prompt and to get code that will completely work. It is our intention to boost our productivity. And for that we don't necessarily need code that is perfect. We need a good starting point, or maybe even almost finished code that only requires 1 or 2 changes. After all, we can type, and Visual Studio is full of built-in refactoring options as well. So I'm already gonna go with this, and let's see where we end up. So let's scroll up a bit, and let's add the iOrder repository to a new file. And let's change it. I prefer to have my namespaces like this. Let's say I want to add these interfaces and repositories to a repositories folder. That's where an iOrder repository will end up. The namespace was nicely adjusted. That's pretty cool. Let's do the same for the order repository implementation. There we go. Important here, I no longer want to call save changes from inside of my repository implementation. So I get rid of that. And let's save this as well. There we go. And I'm going to do the same for the order line repository, related interface, unit of work, and implementation. And here we are again. I added the 2 repositories and interfaces. You can find them underneath the repositories folder. They depend on the Order Manager DB context, but they don't save changes anymore. For that, I'm using the unit of work pattern. So I added the interface unit of work just as was suggested. And then I created an implementation of it, which creates an order with order lines. So it depends on the order repository and order line repository, and on the DB context, of course. And when create order with order lines async is called, create order on the order repository is executed first, after which for each order line, create order line async is executed on the order line repository. So there we go. But we're not there yet. Now we need to ensure that our create order async handler, which we can find in the orders handlers, so this method here, now we need to ensure that this method uses this new unit of work pattern to create the order. Let's ask Copilot. So I wanted to show me how to use the create order with order lines unit of work in the create order async method from the handlers file, so from orders handlers. All right. Let's see what Copilot suggests. It's telling me to inject or create the unit of work instance. That makes sense. And then it's also telling me how I should modify the create order async method to use this unit of work. If we have a look at the suggested code, we see that the unit of work is injected. So far so good. We see that create order with order lines async is called, passing through the order entity and the order lines entities. And after that, the changes are committed in one transaction by calling save changes async on the unit of work. Right, so let's accept this. First, I'm going to preview it. That shows me inline how the changes are going to look. So I am now looking on the left side to how the code was, and this is how it will be modified. Let's accept this. And all I need to do is import the correct namespace And my code is working again, this time using the unit of work pattern. Let's give this a try. I've got a request lined up here below that will create an order together with order lines. If this is the first time that you're running the demo code, don't forget to execute an update database statement to create the database. You can do that in your package manager console. Anyway, let's send this request. And there we go. We get back a 201 created with our order and order lines in the response body. That's pretty impressive, right? Now let's see how we can improve the testability of the other two methods in our orders handlers class. This is easier. 1, there are no cross-repository calls. 2, these are calls that read data, they don't modify data. So using the unit of work pattern here makes no sense. So let's ask Copilot to improve the testability of get order async or get orders async by calling into the order repository. Let's have a look at the suggestions. It suggests to inject the iOrder repository and use that to get the orders. That's exactly what we asked for. Let's preview this code. This is not completely what I want. It seems that it's deleting a bit too much. There we go, that should be better. And the rest looks okay to me. Let's accept it. And let's make sure the correct namespace is imported. There we go. That's our get orders async method. Let's give this a try. So let me execute a call to get the orders. That's this request over here. And there we go. The orders are still returned. The last part of the user story is doing the exact same for get order async. I could now just go ahead and ask some more suggestions from Copilot for this method, but to be honest, we know how to do this, right? We inject a repository and call into that. That's just a few lines of code that have to be changed. We might as well manually do that. So let me inject the order repository. I can actually copy that from here. And let's call into that repository to get the order. That should be it. Let's give this a try. So I'm going to get one order by sending this request over here. And there we go. The order with ID 1 was returned. So here we go. We completed our user story with the help of Copilot. Copilot is a great companion and a tremendous help, but it's not always right. In fact, while I was preparing this course, I ran through the same demo scenario as you've seen now, and at a certain moment after I asked Copilot how I could improve the testability, it came up with extracting interfaces for dependencies as it did before. But to mock the DB context, it suggested me to use the existing IDB context interface. There's no such thing. There is no existing built-in IDB context interface we can use in Entity Framework Core. So AI does hallucinate a bit from time to time. You should still know what you're doing, otherwise you will end up with a very bad code base. But if you know what you're doing, it's a tremendous help. And that's it for this demo.